Okay, so hello, good evening, and welcome back to your The Hindu Analysis class. And this is me, Praveen Chaube. Again, I am here to discuss today's some important news article of today's Hindu newspaper. So, as you know, today date is 14th September, and we'll discuss two, three articles of today's newspaper that is relevant for your upcoming prelims exam and mains exam. Okay, so let's start with the first article of today's newspaper is India US to tie up on green energy. So you can say that this is a very important initiative taken by India and US. They both join hand together for fighting against the climate change. Okay, so climate change is not a problem that is you will see in India. This is the global problem, and both India and USA in equal ground. You can say that both are facing the same type of problem. That's why they are focused on green energy. That will be more suitable for, or we can say that that is the part of your sustainable development. So we'll go in deep more about this news article and we'll find what are the important agreement that was signed between India and US. You can also write this question. This news will be important for your upcoming mains exam, where you have to write what India has taken action against to fight against climate change, and what are the steps taken by the government of India regarding green energy. So this will be one important agreement that will be strengthen the ties between India and US. Both will be country will have a good foundation so that they can share technologies for a green energy. Okay. So first of all, we'll try to understand what all about this news article is. So in this news article, it is mentioned that the official visit of the US special presidential envoy for climate to India for the launch of the Climate Action and Finance Mobilization Dialogue. Now, very important term here mentioned about climate action. Okay, climate action and finance mobilization dialogue. See, whenever you will read such type of organization or any of these events name, okay, so first of all, you have to identify what exactly the name is. Climate action. We know what is climate action. That climate action we are talking about for how we can reduce the use of fossil fuel and use more amount of renewable source of energy. But using such type of renewable source of energy required a lot of financial support, and that financial support will be helped by this finance mobilization dialogue. So in this, basically, this is the one initiative between India and US where both join hand together and they launch a climate action and finance mobilization dialogue, under which a climate action will be required to take against the climate change. And whenever there is a shortage of fund, that fund will be utilized. That fund will be fulfilled by the US. Okay. Now, this climate action and finance mobilization dialogue is one of the main tracks of US India Agenda 2030 partnership. So US India Agenda 2030 partnership का ये सबसे important, you can say that one of the important main tracks. There are other tracks also, like we have a joint agreement on like a logistic agreement that was signed between India and US regarding defense sector. Okay, apart from this, India US also have many military exercises that will be boost the means we can say defense sector of both the countries. Okay, so apart from this, this climate action and finance mobilization dialogue will be also the part of US India Agenda 2030 partnership. Now, the US India Agenda 2030 partnership was announced at the Leader Summit on Climate in April 2021. So it was announced in this year, your in April session, when both the countries' leader summit was happened, and both the countries announced that what would be the important part of US India Agenda 2030. Now let's go in detail about this news article. So climate action and finance mobilization dialogue would be based on the following three pillars. There are three important pillars on which this entire climate action and finance mobilization dialogue is based. First one is about the climate action. We have to just, I told you that you have to break the entire organization's name into different parts. The first part is your climate action. So it would consist of joint proposal looking at ways to reduce greenhouse gases emission in the next decade. So what is the meaning of this word called climate action here? So what climate action basically meaning is, this will be a future plan. Okay, it will be a joint proposal between these two countries, and they will talk about how to reduce the greenhouse gas emission in the next decade. So basically they are talking about how to utilize the more green energy, or we can say their focus will be more on installation of renewable source of energy, with the help of all these things, emission of greenhouse gas will be reduces their target reduced for the next decade. Okay, second important thing is about renewable energy. What all about the renewable energy here? It would set out to roadmap to achieve the 450 gigawatt renewable energy target in transportation, building, and industry. Now, both countries' main target is to produce a 450 gigawatt renewable energy target. This is in case of transportation, buildings, and industry. Transportation sector means most of the public transport or whatever the vehicles right now means that are manufacturing, that should be based on work on the clean energy. Okay, that should not use fossil fuel. Even buildings, we in India we have a griha ratings or green building code, that also a practice is of sustainable development. And industry, where electricity should be produced from not a fossil fuel, it should be produced from a installation of solar wind energy. Okay, so this is the main target of production of 450 gigawatt of renewable energy. Okay, third important pillar here is finance, because these are the required a lot of technology, lot of skilled manpower, and for this finance is very important. Okay, the money is required, and for this purpose this would be involved collaborating on attracting finance for renewable energy projects. So it will be attract finance for renewable energy projects like green bond. Green bond is a, that is a one area where most of the entrepreneurs who are going to start a energy means industry that is entirely based on green energy, so they have given some concessions. Okay, this is the main target here. It will also focus on delivering climate finance primarily as grants and concessional finance as envisaged under the Paris Agreement. So grant and concessional finance will be also provide, that is whatever the target or means placed taken by Indian government, and they are also submitted under nationally determined contribution, where government is planning to produce 40% of electricity by renewable source of energy. Apart from this, government is also planning for increasing the forest cover of India, so that 2.6 to 3 billion ton of atmospheric carbon dioxide can be sequestrated or will be absorbed by the terrestrial vegetation. So for all this thing required a good amount of money, and that will be a grant. So grant is like a way of means amount that is paying by the US to a developing country like India, that will be not going to return back. Okay, this will be entirely utilized for the installation of this type of industries. Okay, so next important point here is significance of CAF. What is the significance of this initiative that is started by both the countries together? So speed up clean energy transition. So this will be a first significance will be uh, speed up clean energy transition. Second one is United States will collaborate with India to work towards installing 450 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030 by helping in bringing finance, technology, and other elements needed to achieve the goal. Okay, so it required a planning for the financing that required for technologies, finance, and other elements like skilling the manpowers. Okay, also installation of different types of industries required a good technologies. All will be required till 2030, and we have to make a target that 450 gigawatt of energy. Now, this will help to speed India's clean energy transition. Okay, this will be help India to achieve its Paris Agreement target. Whatever the Paris Agreement target they set under in nationally determined contribution, that will be achieved by India with the help of collaboration with the US. Now, this raise global climate action. We can say that how India is means helping all over the world. India is also participating in many of the international organizations, and what role India play regarding climate action at a global level. So raise global climate action. The visit of the US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate to India is aimed to at helping raise global climate ambition with support from the developed countries to developing countries in the form of finance and technology transfer. So this CFMD is a step in this direction. So this is one important initiative by both these countries to for that required a global action, global climate ambition with support from developed and developing countries. Both will be participate together, and they will provide a finance and technology transfer. Second important point regarding this CFMD is a key mission for the US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate is to build global support for net zero or carbon neutrality by 2050. So this is a one important concept. Few days back in the Hindu newspaper, you had must be read about the article that was entirely based on net zero or carbon neutrality by US and India, what they are taking action regarding to maintain a carbon neutrality by 2050. So a major theme building ahead of the climate talk is carbon neutrality. So what is the exact meaning of this word carbon neutrality? Carbon neutrality meaning is that see, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is very important because it required of greenhouse gas. It acts as a greenhouse gas, and it absorb a lot of terrestrial radiations. Okay, and also this maintain the global heat balance. But excessive amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere cause a global warming climate change. That's why whatever the natural cycle that maintain the carbon in the atmosphere, like we know the sustainable way 0.03% is composition of this much amount of concentration of carbon dioxide is important for sustainable development. So that much of carbon dioxide should be present and it can be recycled naturally. So this is called a carbon neutrality. Means there should be a balance between production and use of the carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, goal of this carbon neutrality. What is the main goal of this carbon neutrality? Will be critical to ensuring that the Earth does not heat up an additional half a degree by 2100 and will be in line with the temperature target envisaged under the Paris Climate Agreement. So, what is the main idea here? The carbon neutrality is that if whatever the extra amount of temperature, okay, or means extra heat that is caused for the global warming and climate change, that will be stopped after 2050. And 2100 is a year when not a single you can say a little bit increase in heat of the entire earth surface, and that should be a, we can say it's a part of your sustainable development. So as of now, a little over 120 countries have committed with varying degrees of firmness to reaching carbon neutrality by 2050. India, however, has not committed to a 2050 plan for carbon neutrality. So this point is very important. Okay, maybe they can ask you which of the following statement is correct regarding carbon neutrality. So total of first you have to know what is carbon neutrality. It is like critical to ensuring that Earth does not heat up an additional half a degree by 2100 and will be in line with the temperature targets that is given under the Paris Climate Agreement. Okay, as of now, over 120 countries have committed with varying degrees of firmness to reaching carbon neutrality by 2050. India, however, has not committed to a 2050 plan for carbon neutrality. Now, currently, India installed power capacity is 476 gigawatt by 2122. This is the capacity of India. Okay, installed power capacity, and is expected to rise till 817 gigawatt by 2030. So overall, we can say that India is progressing very good in installation of renewable energy, and also India is very serious in taking action against the climate change. Okay, so after the completion of this article, we'll move to a next article that talk about climate change could cause 216 millions to migrate. This is the report given by the World Bank. In today's the Hindu newspaper, it is given that article that was published, given the climate change. Because of the climate change, 216 million people to migrate, and this report was given by a World Bank. So World Bank has recently published a report called a groundswell report. Okay, groundswell report. Remember, in prelims exam, they can ask you which of the following organization published groundswell report. So this is the World Bank that published groundswell report. What this report talk about this climate change and migration. The report examined how to impact of slow onset climate change, such as water scarcity, decreasing crop productivity, and rising sea level could result in millions of climate migrant by 2050. Okay, so this is called climate migrant. Most of the part of the world, actually the part of the Africa, northern part of the Africa, where countries like Sudan and JRA, these are the countries from where people start to migrate from their country to northern part, because there is shortage of water, complete drought, very harsh condition is there. There is not suitable for living condition. So that they are migrating. So those who are migrating because of climate change, they are called climate migrant. And World Bank report said that 216 million people will be migrate by 2050. Now, what is the key finding of this report? So climate change could push more than 200 million people to leave their homes in the next 3 decades and create migration hotspot unless urgent action is taken to reduce global emissions and bridge the development gap. Okay, so this is the report said that key next 3 decades, 200 million people will leave their houses, their homes from their home country, and they will try to move towards some safest place. That place is suitable for a climate where good conditions for living purpose. So that they can start to move. So if we will not take a very strict action regarding this, then obviously it will become a very big problem for all over the world. The report forecast up to 216 million people moving with their own countries across the six regions analyzed. So, what are the important places of the world where people start to migrate? This is include your Latin America, called North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, South Asia, East Asia, and the Pacific. So these are some six regions of all over the world that called Latin America, okay, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, South Asia, East Asia, and Pacific. These are the six important regions. Now, in the most climate friendly scenario with a low level of emissions and inclusive sustainable development, the world could still see 44 million people being forced to leave their homes. So, despite taking a lot of action globally, even a developing and developed country both are taking action regarding to fight against the climate change. But we are seeing that sustainable development process is working everywhere. 44 billion people are also means extra this amount of people are also they are leave their homes and they move to a new place. Especially in South Asia, Bangladesh is particularly affected by flooding and crop failures, accounting for almost half of the predicted climate migrant. Okay, so what report talk about the African regions? So African region includes sub-Saharan Africa, the most vulnerable region due to desertification. Okay, sub-Saharan Africa, the part of the Sahara Desert, Sahel part of the Sahara Desert, southern part, where desertification is a major problem, fragile coastlines, and the population dependence on agriculture, as the huge means percentage of population depend on agriculture, and because of this desertification, they have not any other livelihood. So, so that they are moving from their homes to new places for in search of better livelihood opportunity. And this part of the Africa is most where see the most migrants up to 86 millions moving within the national borders. Not only sub-Saharan Africa, the part of North Africa is predicted to have to be largest proportion of climate migrant with 19 million people are moving. And the northeastern countries like Tunisia, northwestern Algeria, western and southern Morocco, and the central Atlas foothills will face increased water scarcity. So this is the report say that this part of the world where a problem is more arising. So what is required here to take a good action before problem become more worse. Okay. Next important article is from your economy. You can say that so inflation dips marginally to 5.3% in August. So this news article is about the inflation. So what is inflation? The rise of the prices of a given basket of goods in a given time period is called inflation. So inflation figure for the month of August released by the National Statistical Office. First important thing, you must know the body or organization which release this type of reports. So inflation figures for the month of August is released by your National Statistical Office. Now let's go in detail about this news article. So India's retail inflation has witnessed downward with falling to 5.3% in August from 5.6% in July. So retail inflation, what is retail inflation? Where direct consumer goods are available. Okay, that called retail inflation. And this is called core CPI inflation has eased to 5.5% in August 2021 from 5.7% in July. So what is called core consumer price index? First of all, you should know CPI inflation is called consumer price index. WPI is called wholesale price index. Okay, core inflation is where we remove all the products which are fluctuating, their price is fluctuating on a daily basis. For example, seasonal fruits and vegetable, we can remove it. Then whatever the inflation data we get, that is called a core inflation. Okay, so core CPI inflation is an inflation measure that exclude the transitory or temporary price volatility, as in the case of some commodities such as food items, energy products. Okay, these are the because they are prices are always fluctuating in everyday market. You see that there is increase and decrease in price. So because of this, we remove all these volatility products so that we get a very perfect picture of the inflation, and that give a idea to the banking or other finance minister so that they can make their plan for the future. Okay, so case commodities such as food items, energy products, they are daily basis product, and core inflation is calculated using the consumer price index by excluding such commodities. So this is very important for your students' point of view. They can ask you question: which of the following statement is correct regarding core inflation? So core inflation and how it is calculated. So calculate using the consumer price index. Okay, so remember here keyword is we are removing or excluding those commodity which have always price is volatility. There is a change in price frequently on a daily basis. Okay. Next important thing is the why this price is fall, why inflation is fall. Okay, so basically a basic reason here is you can say that the fall in inflation rate is being attributed to fall in food price and the effect of high base last August. Okay, CPI inflation was 6.7% in August 2020 with the consumer price index rising 9.0%. So what is the significance of all this report? So this marked the second month of the marginal moderation in the consumer price index, keeping the retail inflation below the central bank's upper tolerance threshold 6% after hitting 6.3% in May and June this year. So you know very well that RBI already under the monetary policy committee, it was said that there should be always a inflation of the country should be in the range of 4 plus minus 2. That will be a 66%. So this will be in a tolerable level. It will be a threshold level, and so it will be manageable. So we can say that it is everything is running very good in India. So India has set an inflation target of 4% with the upper tolerance level of 6% and the lower tolerance level of 2% for the 5-year period from 2021 to March 31, 2026. So inflation control is legitimate objective of economic policy given the correlation between inflation and macroeconomic stability. So that's why inflation control is important. Okay, because this is a very important objective, fulfill the objective regarding the correlation. It bring a very good correlation between your inflation and macroeconomic stability. Okay, now this drop of inflation is a welcome relief given the fact that RBI has been maintaining the accommodative stance to bring about an economic revival in the post-pandemic phase. This is the first time that post-pandemic phase, the inflation is now under the control, under the tolerance level. So this is very important for to RBI. And rising inflation rate had given a rise to concern of stagflation also, and the lack of further monetary tools to revive the growth. So inflation for clothing and footwear has risen 6.8% in August, which may signal for the demand recovery in the Indian economy. Okay, so obviously the inflation is for clothing and footwear is rising 6.8%. So what it shows? It shows that now people are now they are doing a more shopping. Okay, because of the demand is increasing. So we can say that our economy is now in a recovery force. Okay, now it's recovery from the pandemic. Now, what is the main concern here? So, despite a marginal dip in inflation, economists have warned that inflationary risk will continue to persist in the Indian economy. Okay, so they point out that comfort level from the lower CPI inflation is not commensurate with the level of decline. So, this is the most important concern here, that maybe in future, if there will be a fluctuation in the price, so this will be a continue to persist in the Indian economy. Okay, so this is all for today's news article. Okay, we'll meet you tomorrow again with a tomorrow newspaper. Okay, so try to correlate all this with your exam point of view. Okay, thank you. Good night. Take care.